Hindus are clear victims of riots in Sambhal. A report made it clear in black and white. A report which was made a century back. This report hasn't been authored by the Yogi Adityanath government. This report hasn't been authored by the BJP. This report has not been authored by any member of the so-called pro-Hindu, pro-RSS, pro-right-wing ecosystem. This is a report from a century back. A report from the year 1924, and its author was none other than Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. That's right, Sambhal has been in the national conversation following the communal riots during the court-ordered survey of Shahi Jama Masjid. Since then, the focus has been on Sambhal's history, its heritage and the scars of its past. Only yesterday, the Yogi Adityanath government had sought a report on the 1978 Sambhal riots from the state administration, and today we have managed to access a letter and report which was penned by none other than Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru in September 1924. This was when he sent to Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, to Mahatma Gandhi essentially, to Sambhal to study an incident of communal violence which had happened there on the day of Muharram. So what really did Pandit Nehru say in his 13-page report? Well, this is what he said. We are going to give it to you in a breakdown and tell you in a graphics format as to what the observations were all about. It said that the ancient town of Sambhal was mentioned in the Puranas, and he goes on to say that Sambhal was an important place in the Hindu period as well, that Prithvi Raj had built a fine temple in the Sambhal town as well. In fact, the temple was converted into a principal mosque in the city. He also has gone on to say that the mosque still exists. This was in 1924. Jawaharlal Nehru wrote this, saying that the Sambhal was full of teeths and sacred wells. He then goes on to say that it is said that the next avatar is going to come in Sambhal. Well, this is what Jawaharlal Nehru himself had written, adding that the population is under 50,000. Two-thirds of this population in Sambhal is currently Muslim, and that there are 32,000 Muslims and about 16,000 Hindus who were there in 1924 in Sambhal. The demographic breakup that he had given in the 13-page report that you can see on your screens as well, which he had penned in September 2024. But the observations to this are very important. Not much has changed, unfortunately, in Sambhal of 1924 and the Sambhal of 2024, unfortunately. The town was a Muslim majority back then, as it is now. The fissures between the majority and the minority community has been widening over Sambhal's ancient legacy. But most importantly, Shahi Jama Masjid was a bone of contention a century ago as it was now. But what about the opposition, especially the Congress and its alliance partners in the INDI bloc? Can they reject the assertions which were made by even Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru? Can they come out and openly call Pandit Nehru's report wrong and unsubstantiated? We are going to get you what the Congress has been saying about this. But before that, let's tell you what the observations were, which are also critical to the entire report, which was given by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru to Mahatma Gandhi. These are the observations, and watch the words very closely, penned by Nehru himself. He says the first observation, prima facie, the Hindus are the aggrieved community. 2 of their temples have been desecrated. Nehru goes on to say that the number of Hindus have been beaten badly and that no Muslim, no Mohammedan had sustained any injury at that time. He goes on to say the desecrated temple is called Surajkund Temple, and that a great deal of temple property is currently there in Sambhal, and that Muslims have always been the top dogs in Sambhal. This is what Jawaharlal Nehru had said. Nehru had gone on to say that it is clear that the Hindus didn't prepare to attack. The initiative in this respect to attack was by the Muslims. Jawaharlal Nehru's own words. Suggestion that Hindus desecrated their temples is absurd as per Jawaharlal Nehru. These are the observations that he had written and sent to Mahatma Gandhi. Today, how does the Congress react to it? Listen in how the Congress is now trying to brush over this letter written by none other than Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru himself in 1924.
Leaders were to reconcile conflicts, to create peace and harmony among themselves or among the communities. But these days, particularly BJP, is to add fuel to the fire. This is what is happening. BJP is not only adding fuel to the fire, rather they are trying to provoke one community.
Well, let me go across to Niyamika as well as Adib, who's joining us on this story. Niyamika, this is a very interesting situation. All along, you have the Congress party, the INDI alliance partners along with them, saying that all of this was a conspiracy by the BJP to try and hurt communal harmony in Sambhal. And it is ironic, isn't it? Today, one of the biggest stalwarts of the Congress party, Jawaharlal Nehru's letter has surfaced from a century ago. Even there, the damning observations that he had made, the first and foremost, is that the Hindus are the aggrieved parties. Congress still in denial?
Well, not at all, as even the Congress party today itself hasn't denied any of the observations which were being made by the then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru, the former Prime Minister, I beg your pardon, of Jawaharlal Nehru, who had made this letter to Mahatma Gandhi in 1924, when he has compared this situation as we can clearly see that in these observations which are being made by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru as well. He has also mentioned that how the Hindus were aggrieved at that point of time, as even in 1924, Sambhal was a place which was being dominated by the Muslim community, and Jawaharlal Nehru had spent 3 days in Sambhal, where he had spoken to both the communities, both Hindus as well as Muslims, in which he has mentioned it very clearly that how the Hindus have been aggrieved because of the communal tensions which are being there in 1924 in Sambhal at that particular point of time. But when this question was being raised before the Congress party today, then the Congress leader Congress leader Udit Raj has also made a comparison of the political parties which used to be there in 1924 and which are being here in 2024, as once again he has targeted the BJP regarding this entire matter, as Udit Raj has also mentioned that how earlier the political parties, the political leaders used to try to sort out things between both the communities, both Hindus and Muslims, to maintain peace and harmony in Sambhal in particular. On the other side, in today's scenario, he has said that the political parties are trying to get benefit out of it, the manner in which communal tensions are going on in Sambhal in particular, the manner in which riots had taken place at this particular point of time. Also, he has mentioned that how the BJP is basically trying to create a divide amongst the people of Sambhal, and that is the only reason why they are trying to get a political advantage out of it. So clearly he hasn't denied any of the observations which are being made by Jawaharlal Nehru in his letter which was being written in 1924, but clearly he has raised a question upon the BJP that why they are not being able to maintain this peace and harmony, not just in Sambhal but in other places as well.
Right, absolutely. In fact, do stay on with us. Let me quickly go across to Sagarika as well. Sagarika, you must explain to us the context of this letter. Why Jawaharlal Nehru had penned this letter to Mahatma Gandhi in September 1924.
Now, in the year now this is the letter. Meghna, it's a 13-page letter that I have. There's a covering letter and it's a 13-page report which details the accounts of Hindus and Muslims in Sambhal, detailed very carefully, very clearly, and analyzed by none other than Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Now, let's talk about the context. 1924 was the year when the state of Uttar Pradesh had seen riots in the district of Muradabad. Mahatma Gandhi back then, as per historical records, had asked Jawaharlal Nehru to go to Sambhal to find out what exactly happened. Pandit Nehru was in Sambhal for 3 days. He spoke to people on the ground. He spoke to shopkeepers. He spoke to traders. He spoke to members of both the communities and then prepared this report. What did Pandit Nehru say, and why is it so important in today's context? It actually goes on to talk about the fault lines that have existed historically in Sambhal, which is today in the national headlines. Now, in the covering letter that Pandit Nehru wrote, and I'm going to read verbatim from it, Meghna, he said, one excerpt of it, he said, "Some people have asked me to go and arrange a compromise, but I have no desire to do so. and I have refused to go point blank. Whom would I represent? The Hindus are not going to accept me. And why should the Muslims do so? So here Pandit Nehru is talking about how there was a suggestion that because back then Sambhal was simmering due to a communal riot that took place in Muharram, he was asked to compromise, but then he asked a question: who do I represent? Now, I'm going to take you through some important excerpts of the report drafted by Pandit Nehru, and it was sent to Mahatma Gandhi on 12th of September 1924.
Right.
On point number 7, just taking one point here, now it becomes very important because in this letter, in para number 7, what did Pandit Nehru say? Pandit Nehru said that Sambhal is a town in the district of Moradabad, about 23 miles from Moradabad. It's a very ancient town. He talks about the history of Sambhal, where he says that there was a
Absolutely.
there. Yes.
Well, I'll just come back to you, Saga. In fact, let me go across. Joining us today on the show, we have Ratan Chadha, who's joining us, and author. Dr. Nikul Patel of the Congress Party is also here with us. Yash Bhartiya is joining us, the national spokesperson of Samajwadi Party. Yash Bhartiya ji, पहले आपसे शुरू करेंगे बिकॉज ये जो लेटर आया है, सबसे जो स्केडिंग अटैक्स कांग्रेस और समाजवादी पार्टी ने योगी सरकार पे बनाए हैं। हर बार जब वो बोलते हैं कि देयर वाज इनजस्टिस व्हिच वाज डन इन संभल, उन्होंने कल भी बोला, कल भी समाजवादी पार्टी ने बोला है दैट दिस इज पार्ट ऑफ डिफ्लेक्शन। अब जवाहरलाल नेहरू ने 1 सेंचुरी बैक उन्होंने भी यही बोला था, हिंदूज वर द अग्रीव पार्टी। अब तो मान लीजिए।
देखिए, ये जो चीजें चल रही हैं योगी सरकार पे, इसीलिए सवाल उठते हैं कि सत्ता में सरकार में वोट मांगते समय मैनिफेस्टो में ये सब बातें भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार ने नहीं रखी थी। ये बातों से वो चीजों को डाइवर्ट करना चाहते हैं जो बातें उन्होंने रखी थी, जिन चीजों पे नाकामयाब है, चाहे वो गंगा सफाई की।
अगर न्याय की बातें हो, ये डिफ्लेक्शन की बात कहाँ से आ गई? आप इस चिट्ठी पे बोलिए, जो नेहरू के रिपोर्ट पे बोलिए।
को लेकर के आप 100 साल पुराने लेटर को लेकर के आज 100 साल बात कर रहे हैं, तो सिख दंगों की भी बात होगी जिसमें नानाजी देशमुख सिख दंगों को ठीक से आते हैं और भारतीय जनता पार्टी आरएसएस के प्रतिष्ठित प्रमुख रहते हैं, उनको भारत के सर्वश्रेष्ठ सम्मान से सम्मानित करती है भारतीय जनता पार्टी की सरकार। तो सिख दंगों को सही ठहराने वालों को सम्मानित करना कितना ठीक।
मगर इस लेटर को आप एक्सेप्ट कर रहे हैं? मगर नेहरू जी जब बोले तब सही, योगी जी बोले तो गलत।
में दबी हुई चीज, इतिहास के पन्नों में दबी हुई चीज जिसे आप लेकर के आज चर्चा करो, जिससे पहले कभी कोई चर्चा नहीं हुई, कितनी सत्यता है कितनी असत्यता है, इस पर चर्चा कीजिए। अगर आपको जरूरत है तो चर्चा कीजिए।
सिविलाइजेशन में अगर इतिहास ही ना रहे, देन वेयर आर वी एज अ सिविलाइजेशन?
बात कर रहा हूँ नानाजी देशमुख की, जो सिख दंगों को ठीक ठहराते हैं, सवाल पूछिए ना भारतीय जनता पार्टी से, बनाइए पूरा एक एपिसोड।
अभी पूछते हैं, मगर एक ब्रेकिंग आ रही है। विल जस्ट गेट अ